Yeah, excuse me, real quick. The guy that owns this house, what's his name?
Javi.
Yeah, Javi. Look, if Javi wants me to suck his dick or fuck his wife or watch me watch him fuck his wife, that's a no-go. You understand? That's no bueno.
I am Javi.
Nick Cage.
This film starts off as an indie character piece. When he goes to Majorca and meets Pedro Pascal's character, it becomes kind of a buddy movie.
Javi. Hey.
My co-writer and producer, Kevin Etten, inspired Javi and Nick's relationship because, you know, Javi was us.
We were able to relate so much to Javi because we were such fans ourselves.
Javi subscribes to that super fandom, if you will.
The two of them together, it was a perfect yin-yang, the driving alpha energy of Nick, and then there's this warmth from Javi. Tom and I had lunch with Pedro, and what really put it over the top was that we knew he was a great actor, like we had seen it, but he also was a true fan. And his love and fanboyness was truly the thing that clinched it. It's so baked into who Pedro is. Like, he's a real movie fan and he's a real Nick fan. So it worked on that level too.
There was so much of the Javi character in Pedro that it was sort of undeniable. The characters that he plays seem to be this sort of macho, action-driven characters. Seeing him sort of be a giant superfan and sweetly talk about what Nick has meant to him started to really solidify for us exactly who the Javi character would be.
Well, Javi adores Nick Cage above anyone else because he has taste.
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
You love Caligari? I love Caligari. Wow.
And obviously, there's so much about Nick's performances that are wild.
Fuck it.
And also skillful and spontaneous and original. And so I think that that's everything that Javi doesn't dare to be. He's too afraid to, so he lives vicariously through these performances. And I think it just inspires him to take risks, ultimately.
Pedro was able to pull off this character in a way that sort of rode the line between being a fan and being somewhat dangerous and being a sycophant, being creepy, being all of these different types of character sort of wrapped into one. But the core of it was just fandom. So he's sort of an audience proxy, he's my proxy, where he can be all of us being around this cult-like figure.
I don't want to kill you.
You're the last person I want to kill.
I fucking love you.
I love you! I really enjoyed working with Pedro. You couldn't work with a nicer man. And I thought he brought something quite amusing to the character. You're a wild man. Pedro, as Javi, has a very unique sense of humor.
Huh?
What?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought that... Did you say? No, I did. Oh, never mind.
It is funny because no one finds it funny, but his character would find that amusing.
The thing that brings Nicolas Cage and Javi together would be their love of cinema.
Paddington 2 is incredible.
I fucking told you.
And their love of storytelling. It's definitely where they find themselves, which is like the most romantic thing about the movie, ultimately, is Tom and Kevin's love of movies, mine and Nick's love of movies. It's a connecting fabric.
I think the kind of sweet thing about their relationship in the film is them helping each other realize that a change is needed through their connection to films and filmmaking.
What I loved about the script is that ultimately there is a story of friendship and adventure around a character that we've all grown to love so much over the years.
I'm really glad I got to meet you.
I totally agree. It's just easy.
Up with Nicolas Cage's performances. And part of it is that there's this guy who's unbelievably talented, but can do kind of any genre. You've seen him in romantic comedies in Moonstruck. You've seen him in like avant-garde weird films like Mandy. And you've seen him in his action movies like Con Air and Face Off. This script changes genres 5 times during the course of filming. And, you know, I said to him, you're the only person that we think could really pull this off.
It is a fictionalized, surrealistic, abstract, comical account of a weekend. And I hate saying my name like this, but Nicolas Cage's life.
It starts out as this little, almost indie-ish family drama for the first act.
What?
He ends up heading to Mallorca, where the film takes a distinct turn into sort of a more thrillery genre.
We must go now. Hey!
And from there, it elevates into a full-blown, almost Michael Bay action film.
That was part of the trick of the script, was to move through different genres and try to make it feel seamless and have the characters carry you through and kind of track a lot of the highlights of Nick's career, like genre activity, throughout one movie.
Tom really wanted to play up the drama. He wanted it to be sincere. But also, I said, Tom, you gotta have some fun with this. Let's give them a little bit what they're expecting. You know, they want to see some fireworks. That's not it. And some big gestures and larger-than-life performance moments that I think are right on the edge and a little bit dangerous.
The idea of him really getting to play with this notion of identity and who people think you are online and who you really are.
Part of the interesting thing to me was people going, what is real? What is fake? Who actually is Nick?
Kind of play around with the Nicolas Cage character and what he wanted to kind of play around between reality and fictional.
We live in a world where especially celebrities, your identity is constantly litigated in the public sphere.
It's completely fictional. It is not me. There's some elements that are truthful. It really is fantasy, if you will, culminating from whatever the perception has been in the media, the internet, whatever blips in my life that have occurred that have gone public as a result of being in the public eye.
So tell us about Making the Rock.
Nick started really having fun with adding little Easter eggs from his films. There's a great shot in the movie of Pedro diving in under the water and grabbing Nick that's from Leaving Las Vegas.
One of my favorite sets, I call it a dream sequence, where Nicolas Cage goes into a German expressionism type environment. And so we had to create a whole sequence of German expressionism film, which really kind of is a complete segue from the beautiful Mallorca, Spain into dark German expressionism. We had to recreate them in old Nicolas Cage films. So we have all these strange sets that are old Nicolas Cage films.
Nick is such a student of film, and he's made a conscious decision to go away from naturalism, because you watch films now and everything feels so naturalistic. For him to go, you know what, no, I disagree. I can create a crazy over-the-top character and it can have as much truth as your most grounded indie drama, which I think is another thing that makes him so kind of unique.
The narrative is unique. It goes through all kinds of twists and turns that are unusual for a studio film. This movie is taking risks. I want the audience to see something new and to be inspired by it the way they were with Face Off, but in the context of a comedic narrative.
What are you going to do now?
Live the life of a house cat. Because it's just a matter of time before the great power plant upstairs turns off the juice and we retreat to the black pit of nothingness from whence we came.
Nicolas Cage?
Nicolas Cage! Oh my God!
Nick Cage.
Nick fucking Cage.
Nick motherfucking Cage!
Este tío es una puta leyes.
Kevin and I just decided that we were going to take a year and write something that we really, really wanted to see. An original idea, something that felt fun.
And he said, I have a kernel of an idea, Nick Cage playing Nick Cage. And I was like, yes, absolutely, 100%, let's do it.
We didn't know Nicolas Cage at the time. We had never met him.
One of our friends said, this is one of the worst career decisions you guys could have made.
There was no guarantee that it would get made.
We got another offer. Just came in this morning.
Excellent. What's it about? I was hearing rumblings about it. It just kept coming to me, and I said I have no interest in playing myself in a movie. It's just not something I'd want to do. Well, then I got a letter.
Tom wrote him a letter that really laid out in a thoughtful way why we wanted to do the project and reiterated that it was truly a fan letter, basically, because we loved him and we wanted to celebrate him.
It was the kind of letter that I could tell had genuine enthusiasm in it, and it looked like someone that actually had some knowledge about my filmography. And then I read the script, and I thought, he's really taking us on an adventure that is quite exciting.
There was no movie without Nicolas Cage being on board, that is for sure.
I'll take it.
And then, it was about finding the correct Javi. When we met Pedro Pascal, he came and he said, I'm a huge Nicolas Cage fan.
I saw all of Nicolas Cage's movies when I was younger. I'm talking about all of them. Rumblefish, Valley Girl, Racing the Moon with Ed Birdie, Peggy Sue Got Married, Raising Arizona had a tremendous impact on me. The movie, his performance, it just goes on from there.
You're gonna write a movie about Nick Cage, you have to love him. So Javi embodied all of our own fanboy love for Nick.
Mr. Cage, we're with the U.S. government. We need your help.
There's a thread where Central Intelligence is tracking this Javi character. That was an interesting part of the script because on one hand, you have to take it seriously and think that it's like a credible idea. On the other hand, we also needed it to be fun and funny to sort of match the tone of the script. So that was probably one of the most difficult casting decisions that we made, to put two actors who are primarily known for comedy in a role that was essential to come off as like somewhat credible and dramatic. And the two of them were really up for the challenge.
Ike Barinholtz and Tiffany together were this great combo where you could laugh, but also they brought a real gravitas to it.
Tom basically just wanted to make sure that Tiffany Haddish and I are really kind of just driving that action storyline.
I'm about what's entertaining and makes me feel good. To me, this movie is funny, and it's fun, and it's an adventure. I'm excited for audiences to see how funny Nicolas Cage is and Pedro. I think they are the driving forces in this movie, and they are the funniest.
Are you dying, Dad?
Yes,
Oh my God. What?
creatively.
Oh, come on.
This is Lily's very first film, and she came into audition for us, and she did a fantastic job. She understood the assignment.
I feel like it's a very weird position to be in, to have your parents be kind of automatically cooler than you. And that's very much the relationship I think that Addie has with her parents, where it's like, you can't get cooler than Nick Cage.
And Lily Sheen, there's a real kind heart there. It's hard not to feel paternal.
We both felt protective of Lily as well, because it's her first job. It's her first ever acting job. And yeah, that was a nice kind of thing that kind of brought the fictional family together, I think.
I called Tom Gormican in this production the mind. There's the mind, and then there's the penultimate mind, Tom and Kevin, because it really is his fantasy, if you will.
We tend to analyze and potentially overthink things. And I think what was interesting is so does Nick. And so when we come up, he'd know he was about to engage in like sort of an intellectualization of the scene. So he would be smiling when he said that. And he was like, here comes the mind. What are you thinking about? What now? What we found was that we were always interested in making it better, and so was Nick. And I think he found a way to sort of have fun with that, with both of us.
It was really cool to learn from a true master. I was amazed watching him.
I don't think there could be anything more surreal than this experience. I would never have imagined that I would ever actually meet one of my heroes.
It was just very hard to forget that you are acting opposite Nicolas Cage because I've been a fan for so long.
It was really inspiring. This guy knows his lines, he knows your lines, he knows where the camera needs to be. Like, he has been doing this for so long and is so in control.
Just seeing his face makes people happy It's one of the things that I found like really, really interesting about him and made me want to dig in further and find out who he actually is.
I'm always a character. I'm always playing a part. So it was terrifying. What I want to say, though, is that Tom, he did do something in the filmmaking that I think is absolutely magical and I think is so brave. Well, you got to get points for taking us on these twists and turns. That, to me, is Gormican's true genius, that he went for that and he had guts to do that, and I really admired it.
At every point in my career, I think I'm convinced that this is the last thing that I'll do. And if this is it, like, as Nick says in the film, what a way to fucking go.
What a way to fucking go!
Damn, man. That was good, right?
There's no finer scene partner for Nicolas Cage than Nicolas Cage.
Oh, hey, Nicky.
It was a perfect yin-yang.
Listen to me. You're Nick fucking... Whoa, Cage! This is really trippy, you know? The news of this screenplay about some version of me was in the air, and I kept saying to my agency, I'm just not interested. And what really put the hook in for me was the idea of playing Nicky, which in the script was called Young Nick. The ping-ponging, the play between the two, Nick and Nicky, was what really excited me. I love the Nicky character. I thought I could have so much fun with that character.
I'm happy, I'm healthy when I'm working, I'm an actor. No, you're a fucking movie star, and don't you ever forget that.
For me, that's the most probably important character in the film because it's Nick grappling with a central idea in the script. In order to grow, we're always grappling with a version of ourselves that we think is kind of core to our identity. And for Nick, that meant as like a father, as a ex-husband, as an actor. It was all wrapped up in this former kind of big, giant, youthful movie star, selfish, narcissistic version of himself.
The fuck are you talking about? It was a little bit like going down memory lane as far as it pertains to Nicky. Like, what was my energy like back then?
Nick would come in with such great stuff. My favorite one was Nick came in and was like, you know, I have an idea to end it. I'd like for young Nick to French kiss Nick at the end of the scene.
Yeah, Nick Cage smooch is good. Nick Cage smooch is good!
And we were like, yeah, please.
He liked playing this younger version of himself because that was kind of freeing. It was a combination of motion control, having like great doubles where you could shoot over the shoulder, and then Nick coming in, and he had the performance of one side of the characters in an earwig in the ear, so he could act with himself.
For me, one of the draws of the movie is that makeup-wise, there's a lot of very fun possibilities that the script presented. Naturally, we have current Nick interacting with a very younger version of himself.
Because Nick has a beard and Nicky does not, and it was easier to de-age him and thin out the face and make him look younger.
I love you, and I have always looked out for you. Get off of me.
I think Nick enjoyed playing Nicky a lot of times more than he enjoyed playing Nick.
Nick fucking Cage.
Nick motherfucking Cage!
And we also have a very pivotal story point where Nick disguises himself as an Italian mafioso.
I feel like in all of these movies, there's always some prosthetics or disguise that they go into some character. And for us, Nick had been searching for the role of a lifetime.
That I could play Sergio.
So we created this guy who looks like an Italian football manager. And Bill Corso, he said, how real do you want this to look? And I said, I want you to make it look flawless. It's sort of a big, broad moment in the movie, but it's played incredibly real in terms of the prosthetics. And then Nick created this sort of large, magnetic Italian gangster character.
Lucas Gutierrez, ciao, come sta? Va bene?
And Nick started to perform in Sergio. I think everybody agreed that there needs to be a Sergio film. Nick did such a great job with him.
You know, I started doing this when I was 15, professionally. And to say that after 42 years that this is something new in my life in cinema, and it is kind of extraordinary. I felt like I've done a little bit of everything already, but I've never done anything like this before. Now you get the next one, baby, and we're back. Not that we went anywhere. Not that we went anywhere. Vivian, I can't do this. The news of this screenplay about some version of me was in the air. And then I read the script, and I thought the first act really terrified me. But by the times we got to Act 2 and 3, I was like, well, he's really taking us on an adventure that is quite exciting.
There's something really fun about jumping into Jeeps and, like, you know, screeching off and being shot at and, like, sort of ducking and pretending and...
Oh, fuck me, they're shooting at us!
All of that is just so ridiculously removed from reality. It's so silly. It's just such a fun escape.
Nick is known as an action movie actor. You know, right after he won an Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas, he goes and does Con Air and Face Off. So we were trying to capture some of the spirit of those movies, but trying to keep it fun.
Action!
And trying to bring a sense of lightness and a sense of, like, joy. Nick's, like, spanning so many different genres.
How do you, like, find the right balance between you want it to be real, but you want it to be scary, but you need it to be funny. You want it to play like a Michael Bay movie, but also have the audience be aware that it's okay to laugh. It was tough.
You're in an untenable situation. You know that, right?
About the jump, it's like 25 meters, 75 feet. We were very lucky because the depth of the water was 8 meters, which was great. Of course, what was important to work together with the cameras. We shoot them with a Technocrane and a few different angles. The weather was great, and technically they have many rehearsals and they realize what we want. And we had a diving coach, and before then they have trainings in Hungary, trainings here in Croatia. But it was perfect for what we practiced.
Oh, God! For me, it was really about having a character who feels like an everyman. This is not an action hero. This is not a character that Nick would have played in movies. This is an actor from Los Angeles who's in a crazy situation. So we always had to ride the line between what's actually going to be interesting for people to see on screen and, you know, what this character would be able to do. For us, that was the tricky thing. The stunts couldn't feel like they were out of, you know, a John Wick franchise or a James Bond movie. They had to feel like something that, you know, a normal person, an actor, would be able to do. Part of that was entering through Javi's perspective, and we tried to work in some references to this kind of stuff where Javi is saying to him, you know, you should go get the car. I saw how fast you were in National Treasure. And he's saying, you know, that's the, you know, stunt department. And he's going, not according to the making of Featurette. And it's like, you know, his fandom would sort of play into it. And he's like, I've seen you do these things before.
There they are!
The first one that we hit by a car without a helmet. And the second one is like how they break the car. He hit the back of the car and fly into the air and landing into the Jeep. It was difficult then when the car is on the speed and it's on the brake. We have to have a mark when the bike hit the car. It was different camera angles and it was very safe because we have a stunt rig above the road.
Don't worry, he's totally passed out.
It's a real motorbike helmet, but just we modified a little bit. It's soft because you can hit with anybody with it without to do any damage.
I'm okay. Are you okay?
Well, while we had a nice sizable budget, I'll give Tom and the whole team credit for sort of really hustling and being really smart and economical with choosing how to shoot those sequences so they felt much bigger than they really were.
We're doing LED playback walls for the driving plates. This is a technology which gives the director and DP much more flexibility when shooting action scenes. We don't have to have the actors in the real car and shoot them while we're moving. So it's better than in a green screen. They can actually see when the car is turning, and then they have the same lights on them. And then the editor has more flexibility about cutting in and out of stunt sequences and these plate sequences.
Part of the trick of the script was trying to say, Nick is slowly becoming a movie character that he may have played, and he has to become one of the characters that he was in the late 90s or early 2000s in order to complete the mission of the movie.
And then Nick just clicks into that guy in a way, and it's so fun. And it feels simultaneously, I think, earned for the character because of what he's gone through by that point, so that it was a natural evolution for the character, but also he gets to just do that thing that he can do and turn it on, and just the animal sort of action hero. It was fun.
What a way to fucking go!
And it's funny, when you watch things that you make, it's always interesting to see it through somebody that you're watching it with eyes, and part of that creates anxiety and points out the flaws in your work, and part of it is exciting when you start to see it actually work. And so that was the approach to most of the action sequences.
Dad!
Thank you for this gift for all of us. It's crazy, wild, fun, meta.
Sure. I mean, Tom and I had made a television show, and he came to me as we were wrapping it up, and he said, we were walking around a lot, and he said, I have a kernel of an idea. It's a movie where Nick Cage plays Nick Cage. And I said, yes, I'm in.
Well, then he said,
go.
do you know Nick Cage? And
Yeah.
I said, no, I never met him before. I don't know him. So then we just started writing it. We were like, it's a colossally stupid decision, which worked out nicely. I can't believe that we're here premiering this movie.
Well, it's interesting that they were doing all this without my knowledge whatsoever. And when I first heard about it, I said, no, I'm not doing that. And then asked again, I'm not interested in playing myself in a movie. Get somebody else. If Gene Wilder was still with us, I'd like you to cast him. And then Tom wrote me a very thoughtful, very enthusiastic letter, and I realized that he wasn't trying to do like a Andy Samberg SNL sketch mocking whatever so-called Nick Cage is, but that he actually was interested in some of the earlier work and wanted to maybe showcase that and bring some of that in, the Gold Guns and the references to some of the other movies. And I thought, okay, well, this guy is serious and he's intelligent, so that's what did it. That I wanted to do it. I wanted to play Nicky. I thought Nicky was fascinating, the young version. And then he wrote these beautiful vignettes, which you might hopefully get to see in the Blu-ray at some point, of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And so you have Ben Sanderson in Caligari makeup and black and white. You have Castor Troy in Caligari makeup and black and white. And you have Memphis Reigns in Caligari makeup and black and white. That was so cool to me, and that's why I really wanted to make the movie. So.
Yeah. Release the Caligari cut.
I begged him, basically, is what he's not saying. Yeah, getting him to come on board and say yes and shape the character. Some of the most interesting moments, I think, for me were when the real Nicolas Cage and the Nicolas Cage that we created started to intersect, and they were sort of fascinating moments on set. One in particular I tell people is when he's at a low point in this movie and he walks into the pool, and it's a shot from Leaving Las Vegas, and that's sort of a high point in Nick's career, and it's the lowest point in this movie. And we were about to shoot it, and I was explaining to Nick, I said, so you're gonna come in, you're gonna go into the pool, and you're gonna be down at the bottom, and he goes, let me stop you right there. Like, I know, I've already done it.
But I didn't do it with Pedro Pascal.
That's right.
This movie wouldn't work without Pedro. What he brought
In
was
regards to that
incredible.
scene, though, I was like, I saw the scene, I know what to do. They were like, you need to dive into. I was like, I got it.
The best Elizabeth Shue of all time.
It was a perfect Elizabeth Shue.
Well, the chemistry is so fantastic with both of you. And so, when did Pedro come into the equation?
Well, I've been telling the story that we got to have lunch with Pedro, and part of what we found out was that he was such a huge Nick Cage fan when we met him, and so there was a reality to that from the jump. So when his name was in the mix, we went, God, this feels right.
Not a ton of acting there. Yeah, he was really.
Strip it back and just.
I knew more about Nicolas Cage movies than they did. I was like, that came out in 1987.
So there was a whole lot of fun shit in this movie that all of us, I hope you got the love from us that we all wanted to get to you. I wonder what was the funnest shit for each of you to do in the movie, if there was a particular scene to shoot, a sequence to shoot, something that you got to do that maybe you've never gotten to do on screen for the actors. Just pick something.
Well, I mean, for me, I genuinely enjoyed my conversations with Pedro, and so many of our interests are cinema related, and we would talk about, I was interested in J-horror, he was interested in some of the Spanish horror, and we'd give each other recommendations. So a lot of what you see in the movie was actually happening when we weren't on set or acting. It was actually the genuine conversation. I thought that was interesting. So it was sort of like no acting, please, you know. I enjoyed that.
J-horror and Spanish horror was around Halloween while we were doing it, so it was like, watch this on Halloween, and I was like, you watch this on Halloween.
So I asked you to watch The Cure, and you asked me to watch which one?
Tensies.
Yeah, and both were, I think you liked The Cure, and I love that movie, so. It was just life imitating art or art imitating life. It was bizarre, but that's what it was.
And for the rest of you, Lily or?
I mean, getting shot by Nick Cage was pretty cool. Yeah, the film was originally going to be called The Hole in Carlos's Chest, but they thought better.
Definitely shouting at him was like, I was petrified. I didn't want to shout at him when he was in the bed, because I was like, hey guys, should I just be a little bit softer? I didn't want to like disturb him, and I was like, no, go for it. So I think that was my funniest moment for myself, because it was like, wow.
Yeah, just being able to act with Nick and the rest of the cast was unbelievable, and like I know I'll never have this experience again or anything similar, so it was so lucky to be like straight out the gate into like a dream cast. It was amazing.
Excellent. Go ahead.
Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Cage. I love the outfit. I don't have a question for you, but I do have a rose.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm a big fan of shortbread, so I wanted to wear my shortbread tin can looking outfit, like my plaid. I was looking for a time to break out my plaid, and I couldn't think of a better place to do it than South by, so thank you. Thank you for noticing.
Mr. Cage, in the past you've said that you were inspired by or draw from other performances for your performances, such as the Cocteau Beauty and the Beast for Moonstruck, or Ringu for your upcoming role as Count Dracula. What can you possibly draw from or be inspired by for these two Nick Cages in the film?
Well, one of the main reasons why I wanted to make this movie, and there was a little more of this character in some of the earlier cuts, but I love the Nicky character. I named him Nicky. Originally, it was just young Nick Cage, and I looked at an old interview I did in England on the Wogan show, where I was literally front handspringing. I was promoting Wild at Heart, front handspringing, doing karate kicks, throwing money out of the audience. I go, well, that guy is a really obnoxious, arrogant, irreverent madman, and I think he needs to be in this movie. So that was the inspiration for young Nick. They were talking a little bit about like Cameron Poe from Con Air. I said, but that's cool, but that's not Nick. That's Con Air. That's Cameron Poe. That was Nick. That was Nick in 1990, and I'm so glad I'm nothing like that person anymore. But I was happy to bring him back. The other inspirations, you know, I've been, as you hopefully may have noticed, I've been trying to get back into my dramatic roots and back into my independent interest, which is my base. You know, I'm always going to go back to that. But I was thinking a lot about Tony Curtis and how Tony Curtis could play the Boston Strangler, and then he could be in movies like Sweet Smell of Success and Some Like It Hot. And I was like, well, that guy has range. Let's get back to some comedy, and let's flex a little bit, do the comedy and the drama. So thankfully, Kevin and Tom allowed me to do that with this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. First off, I love this film. This was fantastic. This was such a blast. Great cast,
Thank
great
you.
chemistry, just so wonderfully meta. I loved it. My question's for Nick and for Tom as well. There's so many references to all the Nicolas Cage movies, which is fantastic, and they were beautifully done and just very poetic. What I wanted to ask, was there any reference from any of your movies that got left off that you wanted to keep, maybe something to expect in the Blu-ray?
Well, I made sure we had some sort of reference to The Wicker Man. I threw the not the bees bit in at the end. How can you make this sort of movie about so-called Nick Cage and not say not the bees, you know? So I put that in, made sure of that. And then I wanted to throw in the bit with Bugs Bunny was kissing everybody in Looney Tunes. I thought, well, I should have Nicky kiss Nick in this, and that wasn't in the script, so that was fun. And
That was a
Kevin
Nicolas
added some
Cage
details
idea.
to that.
That was absolutely
It's the thing you only get with Nick is he comes and says, hey, Tom, I'd like to French kiss myself. And then I said, well, that sounds like a great idea. But it was COVID, so we had to really figure out how to do that.
It was so symbolic of what was kind of happening. It's like, I'm actually making a movie about two versions of myself. What am I doing? I mean, this is like making out with yourself in the weirdest way. So we might as well do that symbolically and have them kiss each other. So that's what happened.
We did have a fun moment where he had finished, and then he was like, all right, I don't know if this is going to be good. Let me see this. And he came over to the monitor, and he watched it, and he said, oh, well, I like that. And it's in the film.
That scene was so perfect. Thank you.
These are the last two. Go ahead, you, and then your last.
Yes, first of all, Mr. Cage, I will never forget the first time my dad showed me Birdie. That is a memory that will live in my head forever, so thank you.
Thank you for watching. Thank you, Dad, too.
And the question is it strange at all playing a version of yourself that is written by somebody else?
What was that line that Jeremy Irons said in that movie that they shot in Rhode Island? He said, one actor says, a reversal of fortune. And one actor says, you're a very strange man. And he looks at him and goes, you have no idea. That's how strange. You have no idea. It was a high wire. It was terrifying. No muscle in my body told me to play any version of myself in a movie, and because it scared the crap out of me, I knew I had to do it.
I will, I'd add one thing to that. He would often come over and say to us, he goes, well, there's a guy who lives in Las Vegas and wears leather jackets and rings, and he wouldn't say that. And I'm like, oh, you mean you? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, it's not you. It's a character based on you. And he would go, he has my name. And I'd be like, well, just come on, man. Just do the line.
Because you never like to call yourself in the first, I'm Nick Cage things. I mean, you don't want to say that. You don't want to talk. It's just the epitome of egotistical. So I would say, well, I know this guy that lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. He has a leather jacket. He likes to wear some gold jewelry. He wouldn't want me to say that.
See, this is the Cage I love. Neurotic Cage. And I said to him, Neurotic Cage is the best Cage. I think about you perhaps more than you think about you, which is weird for both of us, but I think that's the best Cage. And then we would just start laughing, and then we would do the scene.
This is what happened. I call him the mind, because all this is coming from his mind. This is his interpretation of me. And I said, but Tom, I actually have really quiet moments at home reading with my cat. And I go, well, don't you want to put anything like that? No, it's not fun. Neurotic Cage is the best Nick Cage.
It's the best Cage, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, it's the best Cage. Very slowly, you're going to become the character from the movie.
Go ahead.
Hey, y'all. I want to say acting was phenomenal from everybody, directing the best. Thank you so much, Mr. Cage, for all the years of content. I know my posters have caught some eyes. They seem to have worked well.
You're the fan who's competing with me.
Right. Thank you for posting it. I appreciate
stop
that.
cramping my style, bro.
I'm sorry. I want to say the last two roles you had, more Mark-styled, more little dialogue, action speaking louder than words. Wondering if you love that style and if there's any sort of style or genre of acting that you want to get into that you haven't necessarily been able to dive into yet.
Well, I have never done a musical.
Perfect.
And I guess in some ways there was singing. I was singing in Wild at Heart, but I'd like to try something like that. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank y'all very much.
It's good to know.
So we're not big on awards here. We have the awards for the films in competition, but we don't honor people, except we decided to honor you tonight. With 40 years of massive talent, it's a belt buckle. It's one of the South by Southwest Awards.
Yes. Thank you. Look at that. Oh, thank you. Please. You guys are real. You're genuine enthusiasts. This festival, South by, is enthusiastic about movies. It's enthusiastic about music. It's enthusiastic about gaming. It's enthusiastic about all the creative arts. And because of this, I'm going to wear this. I'm gonna wear it at dinner. I'm gonna wear it at the grocery store. I'm gonna wear it at 7-Eleven. And this is gonna encourage me to keep trying to surprise you and entertain you. And I thank you. Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want you to enjoy yourself, have fun. You will have the rest of the day to unwind, tomorrow to explore, and the big party on Sunday.
Terrific. Oh, what's the Wi-Fi?
NATIONALTREASURE2.
So, National Treasure 2.
Calling Book of Secrets all caps. I mean, I can change it if you want.
No, I like it.
I should have changed it. I apologize.
Bobby, there's no need to apologize.
You are right. Why would I? It is a wonderful film and a phenomenal password.
Thank you.
Welcome to Mallorca, Mr. Cage.
Thank you.
So, how was it?
It was fine. Normal. No big deal.
Están aquí.
people could still be in the area. We have to go.
Where?
I have a place. Let's go.
Let's go now.
Come now.
So what's the plan here? You're gonna be a big hero, save Addie yourself. You'll end up dead like her. Leave it to the professionals. Local police, whomever. There is no one else. I love you, and I have always looked out for you. Get off of me. I have to go in there, because Addie has to know I fought for her. I'm trying to help you, and you won't listen! How are you helping me, huh? How are you ever helping me? You need to know who you are, Nick. This isn't a role. You're not a hero. You're just some guy who's about to get us killed, you fucking idiot. I'm here to help you. You're not here to help me. You were never here to help me. What are you doing? What are you doing? For the past 20 years, you had me believe the most important thing in the world was being you. And I want you out of my life. Permanently. This is where it ends for you. No. This is where it ends for you.